Secrets and lies very rarely star #why buried, and it's almost an impossibility in soap land to permanently conceal the truth, and next week's Emmerdale holds true to that rule. Robert Dingle, Ryan Hawley, is rocked to the core when a face from the past re-emerges and is left with a lot of explaining to do when his sister, Victoria Sugden, Isabel Hodgins, finds them in a compromising position. April Windsor, Amelia Flanagan, meanwhile, finds herself drawn deeper into Ray Walters, Joe Absalom, dark web of drug dealing, and her attempt to keep her two lives separate lands a loved one in a life-or-death situation. The court case against evil Mike, Macaulay Cooper, is rapidly approaching, and Vinnie Dingle, Bradley Johnson, is terrified that his new wife Gabby Thomas, Rosie Bentham, will discover all that is worked so hard to keep hidden, while she closely guards her own secret. Your appetite good and wet? Brilliant, cause we've got all the spoilers you need for next week in the Yorkshire Dales. Robert's jaw hits the floor when he answers the door to a familiar face. Upon making sure that nobody is watching, he allows the Mr. IOUS man into his home. It soon becomes apparent that the two have shared history in prison. When Victoria discovers the two getting reacquainted, Robert dismisses his friend and prepares for an interrogation. Vinnie continues to be racked with anxiety over both the possibility of Thomas not #accepting him as his new dad and #e repercussions that testifying against Mike in court could bring. Elsewhere, April is guilt-ridden as she tries to keep her drug dealing hidden from her dad, Marlon Dingle, Mark Charnock, and as #tep mum Rona Goskirk, Zoe Henry. Dylan Penders, Fred Kettle, is horrified when he finds her selling drugs to university students. Upon learning that Mike's #fence team planned to call Gabby as a witness, Vinnie desperately tries to lie to his wife about what the court case truly entails. When she's unconvinced and #bull to reveal all to Gabby, Vinnie pulls out as a witness entirely. Utterly bereft over April #s dealing, Dylan throws himself on Ray's mercy and begs him to let her out of the drug enterprise. Ray skillfully manipulates Dylan, promising to deal with the situation by facing the top of the drug chain himself. Twisted by Ray's words, Dylan backs down and agrees that April's dealing should continue as a way to pay off their debts as quickly as possible. Gabby's plan for Vinnie to adopt Thomas meets opposition in the form of Kim Tate, Claire King, who's worried that the adoption will utterly erase Jamie Tate, Alexander Lincoln, from the youngster's life. Though Vinnie and Mandy Dingle, Lisa Riley, are successful in changing her mind, Mike reappears and demands #sh from Vinnie, or else he'll tell Gabby everything. Thinking on his effort, Vinnie offers to testify in the case and sabotage it, thereby ensuring Mike's freedom. Mike is placated, though Vinnie determines to make sure he pays, though Gabby's suspicions regarding Vinnie's caginess over the court case continue to be aroused #D. Elsewhere in the village, Celia Daniels, #E Griffiths, wounds Paddy Kirk, Dominic Brunt, with a cruel jibe about the dog attack. Celia's later forced by Moira Dingle, Natalie J. Robb, to smooth things over, and she plays a blinder, winding Paddy's forgiveness. Robert finds himself stuck between a rock and a hard place. Ray continues to pressurize April, and Aaron Dingle, Danny Miller, is racked with guilt when he realizes his forgotten Grace's birthday. April faces enormous consequences when her two lives collide. Abandoning Leo when she is supposed to be babysitting, April heads out to a drug deal, though drops some pills in her haste to leave. When she returns home, she finds a distraught Rona and Leo being loaded into an ambulance. Teach Rona sure that April is behind what's happened, and with social services circling, April prepares to confess, but bolts when she spots approaching police. When April confides in Dylan that she's ready to reveal all, Ray pales, H's empire on the verge of collapse. Gabby implores Vinnie to be honest, but he refuses, while Laurel Thomas, Charlotte Bellamy, reminds her of her own dark secret. As Vinny #courageously stands up to face Mike in court, he's frozen on the spot as Gabby enters. Meanwhile, Bob hopes, Tony Audenshaw, attempt to woo Celia does little but #bruise his own ego. April is left to survey to utter carnage and destruction surrounding her as she realizes her life is completely in #80 tears. Is there any way back for April? As long-buried and destructive secrets are unearthed, can Vinny and Gabby's young marriage survive? Mackenzie Boyd, Lawrence Robb, is puzzled by Charity Dingle's, Emma Atkins, behavior around Sarah Sugden, Katie Hill. When he questions her, she tries to change the subject but struggles. Is Charity about to finally crack?